Welcome back to Tour Sports, everyone. We've got some new faces here at the desk as our regular football crew is heading down to Gainesville for tomorrow's matchup against the Florida Gators. I'm Zach Pilfer here with Lucas Rice-Weber, Nick Rose, and Luke Lamery. This is the last episode of the fall semester, so we have a lot to cover. We'll be going over upcoming matchups against Florida and Vanderbilt, as well as the Boo Carter situation. Later on, a crew will come on to talk Lady Vols soccer and volleyball, as well as the men's basketball upcoming game against Houston. So guys, let's jump right into it. With the Vols heading down to Gainesville to play the Gators in a storied rivalry game, our crew is on their way down to the Sunshine State for game coverage. Our very own Jeremy Knopf and Luke Tal are down there. Guys, how's it going?
Hello, ladies and gents. That is right. Luke and I, we are currently on our way down to Gainesville, Florida. We're coming to you live from this beautiful, luxurious Toyota Camry. We are just about over 5 hours until we get down to Gainesville, Florida. And Luke, this is both of our first times going to Gainesville, getting to check out the college football environment at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. What are you anticipating the most out of this matchup between the Vols and the Gators?
Well, the environment will be crazy, Jeremy. This is a big rivalry matchup for this Tennessee Volunteers team, and one that they have not had a lot of luck in as of recent. So the environment down there will be crazy. It'll be interesting to see how Joey Aguilar handles it because he's played in front of Neyland. He's been down to Tuscaloosa, but the Swamp's a little different. So I'm curious to see how he'll handle the pressure on this one.
Yeah, so staying on that note, the Swamp is one of the most toxic, rowdiest environments in the SEC, especially considering it's a night game. And Tennessee has not won in the Swamp since 2003. So adding on to that, what else will the Vols need to do differently this time around to try to get a W and celebrate in the Swamp?
I think they need to just play their own game, focus on what they're doing right, what they've been doing right this whole season, and just play to their strengths, right? You can't be too focused on what Florida's going to be doing, but you got to be focused on what you need to do to win this game.
Yeah, that's going to be the mindset for the Volunteers heading into this game against the Florida Gators. We'll be back to you all later on in the show for our final thoughts and game picks. But for now, Zach and company, they got some business to take care of, so we're going to send it right back to you guys in Knoxville.
Man, looks like they're having fun, doesn't it?
Hey, make sure Luke keeps his eyes on the road.
Yeah, right.
There's a reason I drove down to Alabama.
Thanks, guys. Well, Patrick is already down in front of Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Patrick, what can we expect from this game?
That's right, Zach. I'm outside Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, also known as the Swamp, where the Tennessee Volunteers will take on the Florida Gators tomorrow night at 7:30. Now, the Volunteers have not won a game here since 2003, and they're looking to change that. Now, let's talk about the quarterbacks this matchup. Florida quarterback DJ Lagway has 4 turnovers in his past 2 games, and Tennessee quarterback Joey Aguilar has 5 turnovers in his past 2 games. Both are looking to change that trend, and this game will come down to which defense and which offense can capitalize on those mistakes from the opposing team. Guys, back to you.
Guys, like we've been saying, Tennessee hasn't beat Florida on their home turf since 2003. Back then, it was quarterback Casey Clausen leading the way for the Vols in dominant fashion as they would take down the Gators, 24-10. The Vols are 2-1 this year on the road, looking for that 3rd SEC win, something that hasn't happened in a single season since 2006. On the inverse of that, Florida hasn't scored over 30 points all season. Tennessee has done that in 8 of their 10 games. Those 2 games under 30 points were losses. With that, guys, Luke, does Tennessee finally have what it takes to beat Florida in the Swamp?
I do. I think Tennessee's offense is their bread and butter right now. If you want me to look at it all around, I think that both Tennessee's defense and Florida's defense are pretty bad right now. So I think if you look at it from a bird's eye view, Tennessee's offense is where they have to excel. They're looking at 43 points per game. That's first in the SEC. So they're leading the SEC in offensive production. Yes. And to me, if you take a look at all of this together, you got to look at Tennessee's offense is where it lies. And so if Tennessee's offense isn't firing, I think there's trouble.
Agreed. Absolutely, Luke. I mean, Tennessee, as we've said numerous times at this point, hasn't won in the Swamp for several years. That includes several losses to some very bad Florida teams, some 4-win Florida teams in 2017 and 2013. The last several times they've gone down to the Swamp. The last 2 times, Florida finished sub 500, still a loss. Last 3 of 4, loss. 4 of 6, loss. I mean, first time playing in the Swamp in November since November 12th in 1955. Whew. The Vols won that one 20-0 in Gainesville. I mean, you're talking about it. The key is in the Vols' offense to all right Florida defense. They've had their moments where they've looked really good this year, but it really relies on how Joey Aguilar is going to take care of the football.
I agree, and I want to stray away from my stats folks here. I love the stats, but I'm a little stitious. I like the superstition. I like to go back in the history, and I think that's where we need to go.
You're very titious.
Very titious. I like the titious. Now, it has been since 2003 since Tennessee had won on the road. But in the span since then, Tennessee has lost in Florida to a pick six, to a Hail Mary, to a 4th and 14 TD pass. All just crazy endings to those games. But what I want to do is I want to turn my attention to Coach Heupel. Now, Coach Heupel turned this team around. He completely shattered. There was a 5-in-a-row series where we lost to Florida, turned that around same year, broke that 15-year losing streak to Alabama. However, Heupel is 1-18 on the road in night kickoffs against SEC opponents, excluding Vandy, Kentucky, and Oklahoma's. We don't consider those super competitive. But against those other teams, he's 1-18 on the road at night. That's a pretty crazy stat. We know Heupel has some struggles when he is on the road. So it's going to be interesting when he goes in that hostile environment because the Swamp, it's called the Swamp for a reason. It's pretty scary, and it's even scarier at night, gentlemen.
They say only Gators get out alive. Now, before we continue discussing this matchup, we're going to hand it over to Grayson McGinnis for this week's injury report. Grayson?
Thanks, Zach. This week's injury report for the Volunteers is short but impactful. Starting with cornerbacks Ricky Gibson III, still dealing with his arm injury suffered in Week 1, Jermon McCoy recovering from his ACL tear from the spring, and Sidney Walton with an undisclosed injury are all ruled out for Saturday's game. As well as starting tight end Miles Kitselman is out with a leg injury after leaving the game last Saturday against New Mexico State, and wide receiver Joakim Dodson out with an undisclosed injury. Onto the Volunteers ruled questionable. Peyton Lewis with a leg injury and Wendell Moore with an undisclosed injury, they have about a 50% chance of being active tomorrow. For the Florida Gators, their chomp might seem more like a nibble Saturday, as 12 players are ruled out for the Gators, including Florida's third leading receiver Eugene Wilson with an ankle injury, receiver Dallas Wilson, inside linebacker Ty Jackson, edge defender L.J. McRae, defensive backs Aaron Gates, as well as Michael Caraway Jr., running backs Jacoby Johnson, defensive back Deion Johnson, and edge defender George Gumps Jr. are both out with a knee injury. And finally, defensive back Javion Toombs, offensive lineman Roger Kearney, and defensive lineman Michael Burrow are all out with undisclosed injuries. Moving on to those Gators who are questionable for tomorrow's game include receiving and return yards leader Vernell Brown III, battling a shoulder injury, and backup quarterback Tronell Jones and defensive back Bryce Thornton with undisclosed injuries. The two probable Gators for tomorrow's include starting left tackle Austin Barber fighting through a lower body injury and backup tight end Tony Livingston with an undisclosed injury. That means star defensive lineman Caleb Banks will be active for the first time this season since Week 3 and could cause problems for Tennessee. That's all I have for you today's Torch Sports Injury Report. Back to you men at the desk.
Thanks, Grayson. Now, Florida may be 3-7 overall, but they're 2-5 in conference rate, but don't count them out just yet. This is still a team that beat the 9th-ranked Texas Longhorns in the Swamp, and they were one turnover away from making that Ole Miss game a lot closer than it was. The Gators still have some stars left on this team. With Lucas and I here at the desk this week, we're going to jump into play-by-play from here. Lucas, kick us off with the defense of Florida.
Yeah, so Luke mentioned that Tennessee's offense has been rolling. They have the 7th best rushing offense in the SEC. Florida's rushing defense is 13th. They're very slow off the line, which the offensive line is able to open up, create gaps. Q and Lacey had 224 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Florida Gators. Now, with the three-headed monsters in Tennessee, that could be an issue. But we're going to take a look at the passing defense now. They play a lot of zone, a lot of dime package, a lot of nickel packages. Here, it was a quarter package. They had 7 defensive backs in the middle of the field. We have 5 defensive backs in the middle of the field there. We have Dejon Stribling wide open. I mean, there is no effort there to make the tackle. The play calling was there. The execution wasn't, and that's going to be important against Tennessee. Now here we have a cover 3 zone blitz. The zone blitz is huge in the Florida defense. They show the blitz, go back into coverage, confuses the quarterback. This was Chambliss's 3rd interception of the season. It's going to be weird against Aguilar, who's had a lot of interceptions this season.
Yeah, now let's take a quick look at this team's stats, at the team stats for both teams, guys. Now, look at that quarterback battle right up there. Now, DJ Lagway, he is number 1 in interceptions in the entire country. You know who's number 2? Joey Aguilar, tied for number 2, tied with 4 other guys for number 2. Tennessee, 43 points a game. Florida, 20 points a game. Points allowed, Tennessee letting up almost 30 points a game. Florida letting just under 24 points a game. Guys, this will be a test for the Vols for sure. A road win would be huge.
I think you're exactly right. I think if you look at the entire matchup of this, to me, it lies in the hands of the quarterbacks. Now,
sure.
I'm looking up just to double check, make sure I'm right. If you look at DJ Lagway's touchdowns in conference opponent play, he only has 7 this season.
Yeah.
But if you look at Joey Aguilar's against conference opponents this year, he's got 14 touchdowns. So that's double Lagway.
For sure.
And I
Yes.
think he has got a lot more production. I think he's got a lot more production in the red zone. And for me, it's a battle of the quarterbacks if you take a look at it all together.
Well, I think this has got to be a battle of the red zone offense for Florida and red zone defense for Tennessee. Red zone offense for Florida, they've been really bad all year, except for in the red zone. They're 6th in off red zone scoring at 95%. Tennessee's defense is 123rd at giving up a score in 90% of those situations. They've got to be able to stop them once they get there.
Yeah, no, I like that you brought up the red zone defense, Luke, because that is actually a really interesting stat that I was looking into. Florida, on the offensive side of the ball, they are 93.3% effective in the red zone. So they are scoring a lot once they're able to get to the red zone. Do they get to the red zone a lot? Not that much. But when they do, they make it happen. Now, Tennessee's defense in the red zone is 15th in the SEC, second to last. They are not good under pressure in that side of the field. So it'll be interesting to see how Lagway is able to, use that momentum in the red zone and possibly shake up the Tennessee defense, especially considering we still have those injuries in the back half of the defense.
Now, guys, this will be a road test for the Vols for sure. A win would be huge for this team. And they have a chance to do something that, again, we've been saying all show, they haven't done in quite some time. After the game last week against New Mexico State, Lucas, are the Vols in a good position to go down to Gainesville?
Now, you know what? I think so. I think that, Aguilar and the offense, they found their rhythm. I think that the 3 running backs, Peyton Lewis, Sean Bishop, and Star Thomas, they all found their way into the end zone. Aguilar had an okay game. He had 204 yards and 1 touchdown. But what I wanted to go into was the interceptions. Against New Mexico State, he still threw 2 interceptions. This is not a defense that you want to give up those kind of plays to. And we've seen, especially in conference play, those are the difference makers. Against Alabama, that was the difference maker. That interception completely shifted the momentum and killed it for the Vols. So I think that if he can keep those interceptions down and he can play well, conserve the ball, be a little more careful, but keep that confidence, I think that they do have a shot to really just make their way down the field during this game.
For me, I think you had an opportunity to get a clean slate. We talked a little bit about it last week. I think you had a chance to get a breath of fresh air, say we can really beat a team. And to me, I don't know if you did that against New Mexico State. I think it was a tough game for the Vols. I think it was a little bit sloppy. And sure, like you said, the rushing game, there were a lot of elements out there. There were a lot of different players that certainly got that breath of fresh air. But for me, I think Joey Aguilar had a little bit of a confidence shudder there. I think we saw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And New Mexico State out-threw Tennessee passing yards, and they outbeat them in 3rd down conversion. That's a little stunning to me. For New Mexico State, I was a little disappointed in the Vols. And I think there's a little bit of confidence shudder there, like I said, not just with Joey, but with the team overall. I think they're a little bit downtrodden about maybe Florida, and it could show up in this game.
Absolutely. I think the Vols are also a bit beaten up. This is a team that has suffered a lot of injuries, specifically in that New Mexico State game. You had running back Deshaun Bishop get beat up. He went down for a little bit, exited the game. Peyton Lewis, as we saw on the injury report, questionable. Starting offensive guard, Wendell Moe, huge part of this offensive line success. Very, very good player, questionable. Starting tight end, Miles Kitsimon, out with an injury. He's been a good run blocker for this team. So, Lucas, these running backs, they need to get going.
Oh, for sure.
But they're not going to be at full health. Only one guy didn't get injured last game, Star Thomas, is going to be at full health for that one. This is going to be a big part of the game.
Well, we're going to have more to discuss later, but we're going to head to the break. In the meantime, Taylor Langford is going to take it away to give you guys a brief history on Tennessee and Florida's historic rivalry. Stick around after because we'll get you guys caught up on everything you need to know involving the Boo Carter situation and the Vanderbilt game coming up later next week.
Florida hate week here in Rocky Top as the Tennessee Volunteers will travel down to the Swamp to face the Florida Gators in the 55th installment of this Deep South rivalry. This is the last year the Volunteers will play the Gators as an annual opponent since 1990. So let's take a look back at the history between these two historic universities. These two first faced off back in 1916 in Tampa, Florida. The Volunteers, led by head coach John R. Bender, beat the Gators 24-0, leading to Bender's first undefeated season. The Volunteers dominated the early years of this rivalry, winning 13 out of the first 15 games. However, this trend did not last for long. After a blowout loss in Knoxville the year prior, the Florida Gators ran into a bit of controversy. Also known as Faxgate, Ron Zook, the defensive assistant for Florida, who previously held a defensive position at UT before being fired, had a former coworker fax him several hand-drawn items from the Tennessee playbook. This led to a rough UT loss 31-14. And from there, the troubles did not get any better for the Volunteers. While they did get an upset win in their 1998 championship season, they have lost 25 of the last 32 matchups, including an 11-game losing streak from 2005 to 2015. The Tennessee Volunteers have not won in Gainesville since the creation of Facebook in 2003, but the cards have been even the past couple of years. Will the little brother Tennessee Volunteers finally get a win, or will the struggling Gators continue the streak? Tune in to @TorchSports UTK for more information. I am Taylor Langford, Torch Sports.
Welcome back to Torch Sports. We start off this segment with some news circulating the Boo Carter situation. As of Sunday, defensive back Boo Carter has been dismissed from the Volunteers football team. Carter was listed on the injury report heading into the New Mexico State game with a hip flexor injury. However, he was not on the sideline with the team. In his post-game press conference, Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel had this to say.
At the end of the day, there's a standard you got to meet to be in that locker room, and you know, so he was not out on the field with us. That'll be the last. That'll be my last response to anything related to that for right now.
The following day, Carter was released from the team. He then took to X, saying, quote, "Unfortunately, my season has been cut short due to injury. I've decided to enter the transfer portal, and I'm excited about the opportunities going forward." On Monday, Coach Heupel was asked if he regrets bringing Carter back to the team following what happened in the offseason with missing team meetings and missing team practices. Heupel had this to say.
No, not regretful. At the end of the day, it's our job as coaches to try to help mold these guys, and that's a part of the commitment that you make, you know, in the recruiting process and when they decide to come. And you know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and you know, at the end of the day, we're moving forward.
Carter has totaled 25 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 forced fumbles for the Vols this season. Guys, what are your initial thoughts? Luke, I'm going to start with you. What are your initial thoughts on the Boo Carter situation? Did Tennessee make the right call?
Well, you saw Josh Heupel speak, and everyone knows how brief he is about everything, especially regarding a situation with a little bit of controversy like this. But what he said is pretty profound, because it's not just him talking about the sense of a program. That's what is at stake here, is your program. And it's not just Josh Heupel. We also saw it with Ruby Whitehorn. Kim Caldwell dismissed Ruby Whitehorn from the team because she was a distraction. She didn't uphold the standards of the Lady Vol program. Well, it's the same thing here. Boo Carter is not upholding the standards of what Josh Heupel wants on that team, such as a legendary football team like the University of Tennessee. And I think if you look at it, you know, NIL and whatever you want to say has played a lot into what players are thinking about themselves these days, whether they think they can do whatever they want, whether they think they have more power than the coach. That's up to them. But you as a coach have to take control of your situation, take control of your ball club. And that's what I think Josh Heupel, and I think what we've seen a lot of coaches do recently, is take control of your team. Don't let your players run all over you.
I have one thing to say to Boo Carter, and that is simply good riddance. Good riddance.
There's a
and
way
I
to put
say
it.
that only because he was, I mean, everyone was so excited for him to come to Tennessee. I was so excited for him to come to Tennessee. I wanted so bad for Boo Carter to want to play for this program, but he didn't want to. And he showed it over the offseason. He just stopped showing up. He showed it in games. We gave him a second chance. And what did he do? He threw it all away. He would go on the field. He would give up on plays. He would just, he would just show no lack of effort.
That's a perfect example right there.
I was so excited to see him punt return. He was doing great at the beginning of the season. And then he seemed like he was best friends with the other punter because he just kept waving all the time. I don't want those fair catches. So many players around this nation are killing to be in the position that you are in, and you took it for granted and you threw it away. So good on Josh Heupel for getting up there and saying, we are not going to stand for this, because I don't think a program like that should be pushed around by some, 20-year-old on a football team.
That's true.
Sorry.
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it any better than y'all. Y'all really hit the nail on the head with that one. I mean, this is a guy who has gotten a lot at the beginning of the season, a lot of upgrades in his responsibilities, being in the star position, and he hasn't necessarily been the greatest. He struggled out in coverage, getting beat, and when he did make a play, I'm pointing at that UAB game when he made the big TFL there, not a single teammate went to go celebrate with him. Not one. That kind of shows you how his teammates are feeling about him at this point.
Right.
Lucas, you said just fair catching. He had so much open space on him in so many different situations where he could have returned the punt for a big yardage, like we know that he can do, and he showed last year that he does.
Exactly.
But he just didn't do it. This really only hurts the Vols in the return game.
Agreed.
A little bit, not much experience. Had true freshman DeJuan Morris out there returning. Made good decisions with it, but Boo Carter's.
Luke, before you make your point, let's get the graphic up of our defensive starters right here in a second. Now, Boo Carter typically played that nickel position, as you see on the screen right here. It's highlighted. Jalen McMurray right now is in that position. Guys, are the Vols still looking okay on defense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're looking just fine on defense. And Nick made the point. The punt returns are the big thing. That Boo Carter, that was his role. And sure, he played star, the position star, but he returned punts. That's where you saw him consistently every week.
Right.
And like you said, a lot of fair catches recently. So how much impact will that have? Not much. But defense, I don't think you even blink an eye, because Jalen McMurray, you saw on the graphic, last week played 62 of 66 snaps. He's got plenty of stamina, okay? And he's going to go out there, and he had 1.5 tackles for loss. This season, 48 tackles and 2 sacks. He's a really talented guy. And Boo Carter, like you said, he doesn't have much experience.
No.
He was a true freshman last year, and I think we're seeing a little bit of immaturity. And you saw Lucas get really animated about it. I think he's an immature guy, and I think you've got a lot to learn when you come and you go to college at a program like Tennessee. But really, overall, back to my point, I don't think you blink an eye at defense.
No.
And really not in the punt return.
Not really,
I mean,
especially not this season. He's muffed several punts.
That's true. That's true. A
He's
little
had
bit of sloppiness as well.
few big returns, but this year so far took a step back in his punt returns. One less return for 50 yards less.
Yeah.
In total. So, I mean,
Wow.
you don't really
Yeah.
take that much of a step back because he hasn't been producing this year.
And defensively, he was pretty much non-existent against Georgia, Mississippi State, Alabama. I mean, they weren't playing him in enough snaps for him to really make a difference. So I agree that it really might not make a big difference on that side of the field.
And my original point before we pull up the graphic is that you made the point about the UAB tackle for loss. When you don't see guys celebrating with their players,
Right.
when you don't see guys getting up and saying, yeah, you're getting all hype, you're getting all energetic, and you're celebrating, to me, if you're not seeing that, you get a one-way portal into what the locker room looks like. And to me, I see Boo Carter sitting by himself right under his locker, and no one's talking to him. And that's sad. I mean, it's sad. It sounds a little grim, but I think that's how it is in the locker room. I don't think he made a lot of friends. I think you get the term these days, locker room, I think locker room cancer. And that's the thing, that it spreads, and it affects the rest of your locker room. And so good on Heupel. Back to the original point, good on Heupel for getting rid of somebody that wasn't blending well with the program.
It's happened multiple times now, Luke, with the Nico situation, with the Boo Carter situation.
The program Heupel is emphasizing plays a big part in the decision that he makes every day.
Yeah. Well, with all the offseason antics, I believe Heupel made the right call.
I think so.
that this was the best decision for the program moving forward. Now, going off of that, since this is our last show of the semester, we want to do a quick look ahead to the Vanderbilt game. Now, Vanderbilt has been impressive this season so far. They're 8-2 with ranked wins over 11 South Carolina, 10 LSU, and 15 Missouri. Of course, none of those teams are ranked now. Vandy's only 2 losses were to a number 10 Alabama team and a number 20 Texas team, both on the road. Vanderbilt currently sits at 14 in the latest college football playoff poll, just sitting right on the outside of the dance. As we've said before, Tennessee hasn't had a ranked win all season. Vanderbilt's last 2 games of the season are Tennessee and Kentucky. Guys, has Tennessee met their match, or will Vandy just consider to be little brother in this last game? Luke?
I think, Vanderbilt's a tough team, but I think if you look at them, they're a little bit overhyped. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Vanderbilt versus Texas matchup. You saw a very sloppy game from Vanderbilt. You saw 6 sacks allowed and only 58 rushing yards from Vanderbilt. And to me, I think when they play big opponents, they don't excel. You saw the same thing versus Alabama. It was a very sloppy game. Alabama led in every offensive category. And so I think when they play these big teams, you mentioned the teams that they beat, the ranked teams, they're no longer ranked.
Exactly.
And so that plays a big part in to say, well, Vanderbilt's, they're not little brother anymore. Well, you look at the teams that they beat, and they don't exactly have that resume to where your eyes are big, and you're like, oh no, this is a team that we have to worry about. I think you'd have to put in your blinders and say, hey, we need to lock in for this game. This is not last year's game. This is not 2 years ago. This is not a decade ago Vanderbilt, where you can just say, well, last game of the season, we'll write it over. It's Vanderbilt. No, you got to take it. You got to take it seriously because Pavia is a serious threat.
Yeah,
he is a serious threat, and I'm sure that we'll break into that in a little bit. But I think that you have to take a look at Vanderbilt and say, we have to take these guys seriously this year.
Lucas?
Yeah, no, I say Vanderbilt's little brother. They may grow up, they may mature, but they're always going to be your little brother, and I think that's going to be the case in this scenario. Pavia has had an explosive year. The last 2 games against Texas and Auburn put up around 370 yards and 3 touchdowns each game, put up 112 yards on the ground against Auburn. Pavia is the real deal. I will not deny that. However, Vanderbilt does not do well when Pavia is not doing well. They rely on him for their success, and Tennessee is going to stop you when you're relying on one person. The teams that have beat Tennessee, Alabama, when Ty Simpson isn't playing well, you got Ryan Williams to catch the balls. You got Jam Miller to go in and get the touchdowns. You have someone to back you up. Vanderbilt doesn't have that outside of Pavia. And I think that if Pavia is not playing well, if Tennessee can shut him down, I think Vanderbilt's going to be shut down altogether. That's just my take.
Well, Eli Stowers is still a pretty good tight end. He's down there
but
somewhere.
If Pavia's not playing well, is he getting the ball?
He's down there somewhere. Nick, really quick.
Really quick, I just want to touch on Vanderbilt's passing defense. There are 136 teams at the FBS level in Division I. Vanderbilt ranks 134th in opponent passing plays percentage, 129th in opponent completion percentage, and 127th in opponent passes per game. Opponents are seeing something about this Vanderbilt defense that they're absolutely loving, and they want to air it out. Tennessee has had success this year against these ranked teams when airing it out. I mean, look at the Georgia game. Tennessee had sub 100 yards rushing, would have won that game if not for a missed field goal. I think they find success against Vanderbilt through the air, and it's going to be a little brother.
Well, we'll see what happens in 2 weeks from now. The next Saturday, they'll play in Neyland Stadium. In the meanwhile, sports journalism instructor Aman Misra encourages students to learn his class by covering sports that they aren't familiar with. He teaches students every year how to play cricket. Our Caden Martin has the story.
Whoa! Cricket is a sport loved by many overseas, but often goes uncovered on American soil. However, PhD candidate and professor for a Journalism 375 course, Aman Misra, is looking to help his students learn how to report a sport unfamiliar to them, a situation he experienced firsthand.
When we were in Paris for the Paralympics on a trip that Dr. Whiteside so kindly took me on, I ended up meeting a gentleman who works for the US OPC, and his job is to primarily cover the American athletes wherever they are, para-athletes, and in conversation he shared his experiences saying, hey, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't know how to cover disability sport. It wasn't something I specifically experienced, so I really had to learn on the job.
Misra, who was raised in India, knows cricket like the back of his hand, the class event bringing much nostalgia to him.
The reason I picked cricket was because it was a game I grew up, at least experiencing. I worked for ESPN for a while. When I play with my students, it gives me the opportunity to, kind of be that young boy growing up in India and playing against my friends once again.
The game was like a bridge from Rocky Top to Asia, one not only students of the class partook in, but passers-by as well, encouraging student journalists to explore sports from across the globe.
I think it's very, very important as sports journalists to keep experiencing different sports, to kind of know, what really goes on outside North America, particularly. I mean, the US is known for its sports journalism. It's known for, the media power that exists in general. But if students here pay attention to sports outside, they give themselves opportunities that others may not have.
From Knoxville, Caden Martin, Torch Sports.
Welcome back to Torch Sports. I'm Lauren Gimpler, and sitting with me, we have Jack Glennon, Alexi Cowan, and Taylor Langford. And this is quite the crew. How is everyone feeling?
Oh, fantastic.
I have a lot of feelings about this football cast and their opinions on Tennessee. I think they are way too positive about that team, but.
Well, okay. Jack?
Doing good. Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, we'll get into it because we have a lot to discuss, and we'll start with the Lady Vol soccer team because their season came to a close last week as they fell to the UNC Tar Heels 3-1 in round 1 of the NCAA tournament. And it was a hard-fought battle, but the offense really struggled to find any momentum with the only goal coming from junior Kate Runyon. But even with an early round exit from the tournament, it was still a historic season for the Lady Vols as they defeated the #1 ranked team back in August, became the #1 ranked team for the first time in program history, went on a 7-game shutout streak, and the Lady Vols were even undefeated at home during the regular season. So real quick, let's just get everyone's final thoughts, wrap it up, tie a bow on it. Taylor?
Well, look, heartbreaking but optimistic. This team was special in the beginning of the year, and they looked like they were going to go far. But at the end of the day, they didn't. Once they entered SEC play, they lost intensity. They weren't the same team that they were when they beat Chapel Hill earlier in the year, when they tied with Memphis. They just, I don't know. They just didn't play the same. And at the end of the day, that's what distinguishes a good team from a great team. When it matters most, what you can do on the field, on the pitch, and they didn't do it. They only scored twice in the last 6 games when it mattered most and allowed 7 goals. So it just wasn't the same team.
It's what I expected, though. As soon as Lady Vols soccer lost Shea O'Rourke for the 2nd time, torn ACL in the same knee, bless her heart. I feel so bad for her. Yeah. That's what you're going to get. I mean, it is so – first off, it's so hard to beat the same team twice.
Yes.
A good team twice.
Agree.
And second off, it is so hard when you lose your star player. That completely burst your bubble for the season.
And there was a clear difference the second she got hurt in that offense.
Because not only does it affect your play on the field, but it affects the team morale, the juice that team had. It just was kind of zapped.
Yeah. You've seen it with Hendon Hooker.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you look at this team and you say defense wins championships. They're 2nd nationally in shutouts, 13 in 19 games. Very impressive. But your defense can only take you so far. Your defense will win you championships unless your offense is completely non-functional. And unfortunately for the Lady Volunteers soccer team, they were 70th in the nation in total goals. It's not going to cut it.
Yeah, but there's optimism for the future. I mean, they have the 6th ranked recruiting class coming into next year. That's the 4th top 25 class under head coach Joe Kurt 4 years in a row. Should see the return of Caden Norris, Kate Runyon, and maybe even Shea. It'll be hard to come back from that ACL twice.
Yeah, you can't be upset about this season at all. There was way too many good things to be upset about this
They weren't even ranked in the preseason poll. There was not high expectations.
Agreed. Well, it definitely was an exciting season for the Lady Vols, but now we're going to switch gears and take a look at another Lady Vols team. The Lady Vols volleyball team wrapped up their regular season over the weekend with wins against Arkansas and Oklahoma, as well as securing head coach Eve Rackman-Watt her 150th career win. And now the team is headed to the SEC tournament as the #4 seed. The team will face off on Sunday in the quarterfinals against either #5 Florida or the winner of #12 Alabama and #13 South Carolina. The SEC tournament has been on a hiatus since 2005, but it is back this year and will be a chance for the Lady Vols to prepare for the NCAA tournament that will begin in December. So as the team heads into this SEC tournament, what do y'all think is going to be the key for them to find success? Alexi?
It's going to be all about avoiding those costly mistakes that they haven't avoided in the season. Now, during season things, you have a little bit of wiggle room for those costly mistakes, but Tennessee has so many serving errors. And that can't happen in an SEC tournament. That's what I want to see change from Tennessee, but you just can't get defeated easily. And Tennessee's also known to do that. Once they get down a couple points or even a set, you can kind of see their whole team morale deflate. And you can't have that when you're in tournament season.
Well, a trend that's all around Tennessee, especially in football, you have to play defense. I mean, the Lady Vols have struggled with that all year. They have it since week 2 against Winthrop. Coach has been harping about that. Opponents lead the Lady Vols in attempts. They're getting second chances. They're getting putbacks, and that's ultimately, you can score as much as you want. We know the Lady Vols can score. I mean, Caroline Kerr, she's amazing. For SEC Setter of the Week for the 3rd time this year and named all SEC first team. But when you can't play defense, then the scoring is eventually going to give up.
I agree with Taylor. Again, it's another example of a Lady Vols team that's lopsided. But this time, like you said, Taylor, it's the flip side. The offense is great. They're 10th in kills per set nationally, and yet 230th in the nation in digs per set. The key to success for this Lady Vols team in the SEC tournament, though, is avoid the Kentucky Wildcats as long as you can. 15-0 in conference play. Spectacular team. They're going to be really tough to beat.
100%. Oh, for sure. Well, make sure to tune in on Sunday to see the Lady Vols in action, and tune in next Sunday on November 30th to see who the Lady Vols will face in the NCAA tournament. Now we're going to take a look at the men's basketball team, because this team heads to Las Vegas early next week and will face Rutgers and number 2 ranked Houston in the Player Era's Men's Championship. Now, the last time that the Vols faced the Cougars, things didn't exactly go their way. To remind everyone, the Vols and the Cougars met this past March in the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament, but Tennessee fell by a score of 69-50. And it was a heartbreaker for Vols fans watching stars Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack in Tennessee Orange for the last time. But now it's time for a rematch, and the circumstances aren't quite as high, but a win over the Cougars might be the confidence and resume boost that this Tennessee team needs, as they currently sit at number 20 in the AP poll. So what are y'all expecting to see from this team as they face off number 2, Houston? Jack?
A loss. I mean, the turnovers are out of control. I'm expecting to see a loss. You're averaging 14.8 turnovers per game, and Houston's averaging 9.6. You're giving away, on average, 5 more possessions than your opponent, which is already a better built team than you are. They have a better roster. They're more physical. They play great defense. You have to force Houston to beat you from deep. They're shooting 31% from 3. Their shot choice is questionable at best. You have to find a way to force them out of the paint and force them to shoot bad shots from the outside. And Rick Barnes usually does a great job at that.
This might be the first time ever that I agree with you. Tennessee will get their first loss here, and that's okay. I don't think anything is wrong with Tennessee getting their first loss right here, because this is, still November. We're still in November. Sorry, I'm rushing ahead to Christmas, guys. But if you play this team in November, you will be way much higher set if you have to play them in March. And so I love Rick Barnes' kind of strategy here to play these teams in November, and I hope it's a physical matchup. Now, granted, I don't believe I would play JP here. What do you all think about that? Would you play JP?
No, I don't think you play JP. Yeah, I agree. It's November. It's November.
Yeah. The guy's been made of glass for 2 years. It's not worth it.
I worry about that in the future as well. But it's going to be so physical, I feel like, just because of the kind of angst from last year. I was there, and it was just awful.
Okay, so follow-up. If JP Estrella's not playing, are you okay with Felix Okpara in that starting position?
You know what's funny, Lauren, is the game after I just harp on Felix Okpara, he has his career high points.
Yeah.
And that's how my life works.
You shouldn't have harped on him anyway. Felix Okpara is a fantastic
He's great.
protector.
He's great.
That's how you're going to beat.
She's learned her lesson.
That's how you're going to
clearly.
beat Houston. You need Felix Okpara to have a great rebounding game. Houston only has 2 guys averaging more than 4 rebounds.
Will he be
gotta
great?
rebound the ball.
Will
yes,
he be great?
Absolutely.
He had one good game so far this season.
No, he's a 2-year starter. He's been very productive defensively and on the glass.
Defensively, yes, but he finds himself in foul trouble quite often.
Yeah, because he's a rim protector. That's just what's going to happen.
You get 5. Use them.
Use them. Okay. Taylor?
Well, I agree. As the Volunteers head out to Viva Las Vegas, they're going to have to find a completely different team. I think there's no shot this team wins, and please prove me wrong. But the Tennessee Volunteers have just not played a full, complete game, in my opinion. I thought last night in the first 8 minutes that they finally got it together, and then they struggled in the second half. I don't know. I think that there's still 17 turnovers. We're playing sloppy with the ball, 20 fouls. We're playing physical but undisciplined, just ticky-tack stuff that you have to straighten out. But I want to see Nate Ament break out. He's averaging 19 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2-time SEC Freshman of the Week. But I feel like it's been quiet. It's been sneaky. I want to see the dominant 5-star, number 4 in the class that he is, and he's really going to have to step up offensively.
I tell you one thing, you better keep those boys out of the casinos when they travel up there. That's all I got to say.
But Taylor, the efficiency for Ament is the only thing that concerns me. He's long, he's lengthy, he's a good player. He finds other ways to contribute when the shots aren't falling. But that shot selection, he's going up fadeaways, contested, deep threes. It's hard for me to get behind. I don't have a problem with him missing shots. I have a problem with the shots he's missing.
I agree. And last night, he was just bodied. He was locked down. He didn't look great. I felt bad for him out there. And that's growing pains. That's going to come. This is why we have these games in November, so you can figure out what happens and where to go from there.
But if you're bodied against MTSU, You go to Houston.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but look, the guy's 18 years old, and he's playing against, in today's era of college basketball, college athletics, he's playing against guys who are 24, 25. So it's going to be difficult. There's going to be a learning curve. It's a lot different, like Alexi said, than high school. So.
Yeah, we're still giving him some grace. He's still learning,
gotta
kind
learn
of finding
quick
his way.
and soon.
Yeah. Okay, Bishop Boswell.
I don't believe he'll be playing.
Okay.
I've heard it spread from his ankle to his hamstring, and that's something you've got to nurse. You don't want it to get worse.
He's out.
He's gone.
Okay. Well, it is going to be a fun game to watch, and hopefully this time the Vols can come away with a win. But that is all the time that we have for you today. For now, we're going to send it back to the football crew to give you their picks for this weekend's rivalry matchup.
I'm scared to hear those picks.
But first, Tennessee Club Sports Network has taken off over the course of this semester, and our very own Mateus Fotorath got to sit down with Charlie Safron, the network's president and founder.
My name is Charlie Sarafian. I'm the founder and president of TCSN, the Tennessee Club Sports Network. The Tennessee Club Sports Network is a student-run broadcast organization that produces live broadcasts for all the club sports on campus. So we do hockey, club basketball, club baseball, club lacrosse. We're looking to branch out to some other ones right now. We offer live play-by-play, color commentary, sideline reporting. We also provide production skills, running the stream, producing, directing, audio mixing, spreading the scoreboard, graphics, etc. And we also provide social media positions, so photography, videography, running the social media account. So it's all around just a sports network for all the club sports on campus, and highlighting them and giving them the spotlight while also giving students the opportunity to get that experience that you wouldn't really be able to get anywhere else. So TCSN started with me actually when hockey season ended. There was no more hockey games, but I still wanted experience doing play-by-play and color commentary. I still wanted practice. However, there were no opportunities on campus to do it, so I reached out to the club baseball team and said, hey, you guys have a broadcast? And they said no, but they saw my videos and my TikToks I've been posting and my broadcast clips. And they said, would you want to do it? And I said, yeah, of course. And they said, do you know how to set it up? And I was like, no, but I'll figure it out. So I grabbed one of the guys I worked with hockey, John Hansen, who's now vice president of TCSN. It was literally just me, him, computer, camera, and that was it. So we did that, and then lacrosse reached out and they said, hey, can you do our games? So we went and did that, kind of taught myself. And then one day I was driving home and I thought to myself and I said, hey, there's obviously a need for this. Why don't we make this on a bigger level and create the Tennessee Club Sports Network? There's a lot of really good media outlets, and I think one thing you're going to get at all the media outlets is that sense of, family, that sense of having a group, something to be a part of. But with TCSN, I think the one thing that sets us apart is from a lot of other organizations is just we're new. So once you join us, we're going to give you that opportunity to pitch a new idea because we're so fresh. We're changing every single day. So just the ability to come in to something and kind of, grow with it as it continues to go along is once I leave Tennessee, I'm really hoping I can pass it off to a bunch of other students who are passionate about it. I think the most rewarding aspect is being able to teach people. The whole reason I started this, it was honestly kind of selfish. I just wanted to create opportunities for myself because there were no opportunities for, anybody to do play-by-play or sideline commentary unless you went out and you made your own. So as I've gone on, teaching other people to do it and giving other people the opportunity has honestly brought me more happiness. And, people reaching out to me, asking me questions, advice on how to get better, even when I myself am trying to get better, I think is very rewarding because I don't know what this is going to look like a year, 2, 3 years from now. I didn't even know what this was going to look like a month ago to where we are right now. So it's just every week's a new week. And I think, it's an opportunity for people to learn a lot and be a part of something. If you want to join us, just email us at tcsn@utk.edu. Follow us on Instagram, tcsnutk. We're currently recruiting right now. We're looking for more people for the spring semester. A lot of big games coming up. If you're a lacrosse, if you're a baseball fan, if you're a soccer fan, even hockey. We got basketball too. There's so many club sports that are coming up. So if you're interested in doing anything sports broadcasting related, join us.
Welcome back, guys. We're just about to wrap up the last show of this semester, but before we do that, guys, sharing our game picks. Lucas.
Yes, sir.
Tennessee, Florida.
Yes, sir. I think this is the year. I think this is the year. We have the man under the headset to do it for us, or to do it for Tennessee. It's Heupel. I'm going to say 31-24 Tennessee. This is not Florida that has been the team for however long, since 2003. They're not the same team that they have always been. So I'm going to say that Tennessee's going to take this 34-21 in the Swamp, break that streak. It's going to be a new year.
If there was ever a year to do it, it is this year.
I'm right
with
with
this year. Tennessee, yeah. I think Tennessee takes it this year.
Okay.
I'm going to have to save the graphic here. Unfortunately, I do not believe in the Vols.
Oh.
Two penalty prone, 7 penalties per game, night game in the Swamp. I just think they're going to be very sloppy out there. Heupel's had problems getting them to play clean all year. I got Gators 30, Vols 27.
You know, I'm thinking, you take a look at Tennessee. We've seen shades of a really good Volunteer team in the past. We saw it against Arkansas, against Mississippi State, against Georgia. Even though you lose against Georgia, you still have a really good game.
Exactly.
And so I think if you take that mentality and say, hey, we really, really, really need to win this game, you can go out there and win it. I'm with Lucas 100%. I think you can, with Josh Heupel under the headset, with Joey Aguilar, if he's in good conscience, I think Tennessee wins it. I think you go out there and you win 35-28.
Now, of course, we can't forget the guys who have been here all semester long. Jeremy, Luke, Patrick, guys, what are your picks?
Yes, this is going to be a big game in the Swamp. Florida is looking to pull all the stops tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. But this game, I believe it's really going to come down to the offense. And right now, Tennessee and the SEC, they still have one of the most, if not the best statistical offenses in the conference. Meanwhile, Florida is near down at the bottom. And despite the noise, despite the pressure, I believe that's going to play a big role in this game. I got the Volunteers winning this one 41-24, grabbing their first win in the Swamp in 22 years. How about you, Lucatao?
I'm a little bit on the other side, Jeremy. This is going to be a very hostile environment, not an easy game for the Vols at all in this one. And I'm going to use the same logic that I used for the Alabama game. I have to see it to believe it, and I haven't seen Tennessee go down and beat Florida in the Swamp in my lifetime. So I'm going to have to go with Florida on this one, 31-24.
So as you can see, this is going to be a very interesting car ride on the way down there. And speaking of which, we're at about 4.5 hours until we reach Gainesville. You can check in with Luke and I on Torch Sports social media tomorrow afternoon. We're going to be bringing all the coverage right to you in this next chapter of the Tennessee Volunteers and the Florida Gators. So Luke and I, we're going to continue this journey down to the Swamp. Zach Pelfrey, back to you.
Yeah, guys, we might be in enemy territory, but no worries. I still got the whiteboard on me. It says only Vols, make it out alive. I'm taking the Vols 27-20 in this matchup.
You know what I appreciate there is that Jeremy and Patrick both spruced it up with the polo. Lucatao, just in a sweatshirt. I really appreciate the class, guys. Thank you.
Well, guys, that wraps up the last show of this semester. Now, make sure to follow us on Instagram at TorchSportsUTK and on X at TorchSports_UTK. We won't be airing live over the holidays, but we will be continuing our coverage of Tennessee sports on our social medias. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving break. Enjoy your winter break. For Lucas Reisenweber, Nick Rose, Luke Lamery, for Lucatao, Jeremy Knopf, and Patrick Falcon, I'm Zach Pelfrey, and guys, that was Torch Sports.